Ross Chastain crashes Denny Hamlin, tries to back it over the start-finish line. This does not work out for him. Shane Van Gisbergen is just on another level at road course racing. Let's break down NASCAR at the Charlotte ROVAL. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about the NASCAR playoff race at the Charlotte ROVAL. What a race today. We have Ross Chastain trying to knock out Denny Hamlin to gain position over Joey Logano, right? Joey Logano makes it into the next round of the playoffs. Ross Chastain, unfortunately, eliminated once again. We'll break that down. SVG continues to dominate at these road courses. It's just in another zip code compared to everybody else. Won this race by, 17 seconds? It's just a crazy number like that. Is so in control. Let's go ahead, dive in, take a look at it. NASCAR at Charlotte ROVAL. And first off, let's talk about how the Charlotte ROVAL has become like a NASCAR classic, at least in my mind, right? Look, I know some fans don't like the Charlotte ROVAL. They want the oval back. I know some fans don't like the playoffs. They want a different playoff system. I'm not oblivious to that. But every time we go to the Charlotte ROVAL, what do we have? Insane action, a bunch of torn up race cars, and playoff drama, with this being the cutoff race to get into round 3, the round of 8. So certainly that has not changed. I think the last couple of years, that's maybe the first 2 years with this next gen car, that kind of changed, where it was a little more of a snooze fest. Well, it's back now. It's crazy every year, right? Since we started this in 2018 with, Kyle Larson passing a driver at the end to advance, all these crazy moments at the Charlotte ROVAL just screams what we have. Coming off of that last chicane to the checkered flag, it's just always something happening with playoff implications. It's exciting. It's fun to watch. It's like NASCAR at its best, right? When you talk about a playoff system, when you talk about beating and banging at a short track, it's like a short track / road course, right? So I like the Charlotte ROVAL. I'm not going to complain much about the playoff system, but let's go ahead, break down the race. Shane Van Gisbergen will get the playoffs in a moment. Shane Van Gisbergen, not in the playoffs, but absolutely dominated the race today. It's just on another level. What Shane Van Gisbergen is able to do is just incredibly impressive, and I cannot figure out, all the other drivers, they're on pit road talking to NBC reporters after the race, and they're all like, well, he can keep rear tire on the race car, keep rear tire grip, where we can't. So they've at least found out what it is, but they all seem completely clueless to how he does it. They cannot figure it out. And it's just crazy that you have so much access to so much different data. It's not SMT data anymore, it's a different company, but you have that same data where you can look at drivers, what they do when they're on the gas, when they're on the clutch, whatever you need to look at, and they cannot figure out. And I'm not even saying you should be able, I don't think you should be able to look at that really, but they cannot figure out what SVG is doing, why he's so good. He has the experience on these types of races back at home. It's just amazing. It really is amazing. And I know we're going to talk about how it's boring or whatever. I talked about this after Watkins Glen. It's boring that he's dominating these races. Not that exciting. I want to appreciate what we're seeing, because maybe one day somebody will catch SVG, and then you're not going to see this anymore. So they got closer today. I will say, I think Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell got closer today. They're trying to get there, right? Christopher Bell won the only other road course race this year at Circuit of the Americas. He's the only road course winner this year. They're trying to get there. They're trying to get closer. They just haven't got there yet, and they're still pretty far off. I think they're ahead of everybody else, those two, but they're just so far from SVG. He's way up here, and then you got Christopher Bell, Larson here, and then you got way down here, everybody else. So, maybe even Chase Briscoe up there with those guys, just not exactly today. But, yeah, certainly. Let's go ahead and get into it. I usually go through the top 10 next. Let's take a quick look at the top 10 really quickly here. Shane Van Gisbergen win. I mentioned Kyle Larson, pitted, second place finish. Christopher Bell, nice third place finish for C-Bell today. Both of those advancing to the next round pretty easily. Chris Buescher had a solid run on road courses the last few seasons. Michael McDowell had a solid day all day, finishing in the 5th position. Nice top 5 finish today for Michael McDowell. Ryan Preece, RFK Fords had a good day. Keselowski had issues at the very end. So once again, you have Buescher, you have Ryan Preece, both in the top 10. They had a good day. Brad Keselowski had an engine failure, some mechanical failure at the very end, why he's not in the top 10. But overall, a solid day on speed for the RFK Fords. Daniel Suarez, 7th. He's been good on the road courses in his career. This is the last road course that we know of he'll be racing at for quite some time, unless he can find a deal for next year. You have Chase Elliott finishing 8th. AJ Allmendinger always up front in some capacity at these road course races, finishing 9th. Tyler Reddick unable to advance with this, but overall 10 points into this 10th place in following this race particularly. With that being said, I just wanted to go through the top 10 real quick. Let's take a quick look at the playoff standings. Who missed it, right? The first driver out. We have Ross Chastain missing it. We'll talk about the crazy move. You got Bubba Wallace missing it. You got Tyler Reddick, both the 2311 Toyotas missing. And then Austin Cindric with the bad round, right? Austin Cindric, like we can start at him at the bottom. Missed this by 40-something points. Just a bad round overall for Cindric, right? We had the other two Penske Fords really fast at New Hampshire to open up the round. They were decent at Kansas. Well, the 2-car just wasn't. And then today the 2-car gets in it with Carson Hocevar, has issues with him, playing bumper tag with him, I guess, all day, right? And then, the issues just flooded the gate for Austin Cindric. He was obviously very disappointed in himself for not being able to advance. And it's like he said in his interview, when you get to this level and you get to this point of the season in the playoffs, in the point standings, they just punch you in the mouth, right? You're talking about the top guys in NASCAR now all stepping up. They just could not handle it this year. I think the playoff experience is there, and I think they're getting better. It'll be interesting to see how this 2-team moves forward if the playoffs continue or whatever happens next. I want to keep watching the 2-team. It seems like they're slowly getting better, and I think Cindric's a solid driver. But unfortunately for them, both the 2311 Toyotas not being able to recover from New Hampshire. I mentioned after New Hampshire to open up this round, I have confidence in them at Kansas. I don't think they're that bad at the road courses, especially Reddick. Or even Bubba Wallace after this year, but they just were so far off at New Hampshire, they just put them in must-wins, right? My concern wasn't these upcoming tracks. My concern wasn't Charlotte Road Course. My concern wasn't, Kansas last week. My concern was the lack of points they got at New Hampshire, and that's ultimately what did it in, right? I mean, Reddick missing it by 29. You have Bubba Wallace missing it by 26, and Reddick was in the top 10. Bubba wasn't that far behind him. Just disappointing for 23XI that they missed it 1 week so bad that it just put them in a must-win. Didn't win last week, didn't win this week. So 2311 out of the playoffs now. Very unfortunate for them. Ross Chastain, very upsetting today, right? Let's take a look at Ross. Before we get into the big move that everybody wants to talk about, let's take a look at Ross Chastain's day overall, right? First off, has a solid qualifier. Starts off pretty decent. He's definitely has a faster race car than Joey Logano, the guy he's racing with. But the issues just begin to flood on pit road, right? Coming off of pit road, I don't know if I've seen this at any other track. I don't know if any other track has a pit road exit quite like this. I don't think I've seen it here. Just misses the exit. I mean, that's just a standard procedure. Even Ross Chastain talked about it in his post-race interview. These are I know it's not, I'm not saying it's easy to do. It's extremely difficult to do these things, but for those guys, it's the basics, right? For them, for Ross Chastain, for Larson, for Christopher Bell, for SVG, those are the basics in racing. Now, a regular person, it's exceptionally difficult to do. It's the basics for those race car drivers, and to mess up on that is certainly very upsetting, very disappointing. And then on a later pit stop, getting a pit road speeding penalty, NBC went back and called it, where he went back, jumped it up a gear, was on the gas, and slams on brakes, goes down a gear. Unfortunately, already went too fast in that section of pit road. It's timed sections. Unfortunately, Ross Chastain with 2 penalties, just that kills. That makes it more difficult. It costs you stage points in stage 2. Very, very unfortunate issues. Messing up on the basics can just be so frustrating. And I know it's not, these basics aren't that easy, but for him, that's supposed to be the thing you can get right. And to lose it on that, Ross Chastain very upset. I think Ross Chastain has historically stood on the sideline and watched the champions celebrate and watched the race winners celebrate where he lost. Ross just I don't know where Ross is. I don't see improvements. I don't see anything getting worse. They have the speed, but it's so tough to compete with these top 3 teams. I don't know if we could see Ross make it much farther than this just because of that. I mean, we'll have to see what happens moving forward. He's a great race car driver. He's on a very solid race team, but at this level, the smallest mistakes will just kill you, and that's what happened today for Ross. You look at the finishing of today's race, right? He needs to hold off the 11. You see the blue Progressive 11 car behind him. He needs to hold off Denny Hamlin to make it. Dives in there, both of them slide backwards. He backs it up over the finish line. Now, okay, in this case, he does beat Denny Hamlin, but he loses other spots which is why he wasn't able to advance. So, yeah, very frustrating for Ross Chastain. But I like that, right? Like, that's what I want to see. That's why I love this particular race, right? Like, I see the emotion out of the drivers. Like, Joey Logano making it, getting out of the car, getting booed by the fans. Like, the fans know what happened. The fans were invested in this. Like, other drivers excited they made it. Chase Briscoe just barely getting into this round on points. So, one thing goes wrong for Chase Briscoe, he's on the cut line, right? That team was, I'm sure, just trying to get those basics down all day long. And Ross Chastain, very upset. That's what you want to see as a fan. You want to see when that team, when that driver loses, the raw emotion. And you saw it today from Ross. You saw the, I don't know if I'd call it excitement, but the happiness, I guess, from Joey Logano, for making it to the next round. He was excited about that. Got booed. The fans weren't, but, that's okay too. Just that's what you want to see when you're watching sports. I love to see that raw emotion from drivers. Denny Hamlin was a little more on the confused side in his interview. I don't think he entirely knows it. It'd be interesting to see what he says in Actions Detrimental tomorrow or Tuesday, whenever he films it, because sometimes his post-race interview he's kind of dry, and then gets more after he has time to analyze. That emotion comes out a little more. So going into round 3, we have Las Vegas next week at night at 5:30. We have Talladega in the middle, and then we have Martinsville to end this round. This round will determine the Final Four at Phoenix. Big deal. Here's the points right now. It's extremely tight. Denny Hamlin in by 8. Blaney in by 6. Larson, Byron in by 4. Bell out by 4 right now. Chase Briscoe out by 14. Chase Elliott out by 14. And Joey Logano out by 24. I think when we go into this round, like I just named the racetracks a minute ago, but what are we looking? I think what we're going to see in this round is every driver in here expect to win a race. So I think what you're going to see is 3 drivers that are in this 8 win the next 3 races. One of them will make it in on points. Talladega is kind of the variable. Like, I can't really predict with the amount of different things that could happen in this round. But, you got Las Vegas, 1.5 mile standard. That to me favors Joey Logano. I guess the Toyotas as well, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. Talladega certainly would advantage Joey Logano. Logano's just great in the final round. But, yes, so we have Las Vegas. Talladega, I think, is going to be, for the crew chiefs and drivers, the most pressure they've ever felt in their professional racing career going into that race, because there's so much unpredictability, so much out of your control. And then we'll go to Martinsville. We'll see how this plays out. We'll see how the points stand. And, of course, it should be exciting. That's it, really, all I have to discuss following NASCAR at the Charlotte Roval. Let me know what you think about the race. Was this a good race? What do you think about SVG? Will anyone catch him? What do you think about Chastain's move at the end, right? That's it, really, all there is to discuss today. And, of course, about Kyle Busch crashing out in the first corner of the first lap today after taking the green flag. Let's get rowdy.